It's time for a healthy dose of According to the Castles. And now, please welcome your hosts, Amy and Trey Castles.
Hey everyone, it's Amy Castles. I have a very special guest, Melody Fraser.
Hello.
How are you doing this morning?
I'm great. Thanks for having me.
So Melody is the owner of Blissful Waters in the Woodlands, and Blissful Waters is a float spa. So tell us a little bit about your float spa.
So we're float therapy, and we have 3 float rooms. We have 8x7 float tanks or superior float tanks, and you float essentially in 1,600 pounds of Epsom salt, ideally removing all light and sound, which is a way your body can relax and go internal and start healing itself. Not everyone's ready to do that, so we do have the option of easy music and lights. Sometimes hard music, depends on what kind of therapy you want. We actually do have a Pink Floyd track in there.
That's funny. I did not hear that one.
Yeah, no, that's for the special, like people that request it.
Oh, okay.
Some people don't want to shut off their mind, so they actually need that extra music. So you either go sensory deprivation or you need some sensory, and you're just going for pain relief. So we have some clients that really enjoy, like our military clients, like PTSD, they like the Pink Floyd because they don't want to go back and think about a lot of things.
Okay, so if it's too silent, then too many things come up.
Or ringing in the ears. But ideally, I like the silence. The silence is, like I said, where your brain's able to completely shut down. You get more creativity. You come out like a newborn, and you just come out refreshed.
Okay, so I have heard a lot about this sensory. What did you say?
Sensory deprivation. That's what we specialize in.
Sensory deprivation.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I did not know that's what it is.
Yes.
I'm thinking it was just, you're floating on Epsom salts and relaxing to relieve inflammation. And
that is a big part of it.
Okay. I came in the other day and I floated, and I didn't know that I could have. Well, I knew I could turn off the lights, but I didn't know why I needed to turn off the lights. And I didn't know that I should have turned off the music. I guess there isn't a should have. It's whether it's a choice. But I didn't understand the reason to turn it off or leave it on. So you weren't there. So I talked to somebody different. So I see the benefit of that now. I was very like ADD in it. Mm-hmm. Which a lot of people are. And maybe it was just that day. I had taken a nap, and I think I had an iced tea before I came in there. I probably shouldn't have done that. Mm-hmm. So you're probably going to laugh at this. So I'm laying there in the float spa, and I was like, oh, my feet hit one side. So I kicked off and then it went to the other side. And then my hands hit the other side, and I was like, ooh, and then went back and forth, back and forth. And then I tried to lay there. I'm like, okay, be calm, be calm. And then I laid there, and then I was like, I think I'm gonna do some yoga. So then I stood up and did some yoga, but then I fell and kind of slipped over.
Don't do happy baby.
Oh my gosh. Well, I did. And it wasn't like I stood up I was more on my knees doing some yoga, but then I kind of dripped water in my eye and maybe just rolled a little bit, but then I got salt water in my eye, but I sprayed it with the stuff. That was good. And then I got out and I used the towel, and then I texted my friend, and then she was like, get back in there. And so I get back in there. So I was kind of doing things a little wrong. I see that now. Okay.
But you don't float a lot, and it is a practice. Like we always say, the first float is very experimental. Uh-huh. Your first float, your brain is still taking information. It's asking, am I going to drown in here? How high is the water? Does this door lock? How do they clean it? Things like that. So I always like to get across how we clean it, those little questions, so that when you do get in there, your brain, I tell every first-time floater, answer all your brain's questions, because the quicker you answer the brain's questions, the quicker it can relax and get into the flow. Otherwise, it's going. But we are also busy people, and we've got constant information coming into our brains. So our brains are full. ADD, your brain's full. That's all. You need to brain dump. You need to just get all the excess out of there. That way you can put in new information. So sometimes I've had those floats too. I mean, I've come in, after a yoga class thinking I'm going to totally relax, but I'm hyped up and got a million things, think about what we're going to eat. Uh-huh. You still get benefits. You're still getting the benefits the next day. You're your brain's still taking a little bit of a break, but it is a practice. So the first one, information's coming in. The second one, your brain's excited. It's like, whoa, I'm looking forward to it. I get to relax more. And then the third one's a brain-heart connection. That is your goal. That's when the magic happens. That's when you might see cool things. Your brain starts, like when I first started floating, my brain kept thinking there was a light behind me, even though I was turning off all the lights.
Wow.
But my brain would tell me there was a light. I finally had to realize, I asked another float person, and they said, oh, just tell your brain to turn off the light. Do you go to bed with a light next to you? Do you like read or do something with the light? And I was like, absolutely. Oh, you just have to turn the light off. So I did that. I laid in the tank and I was like, okay, turn the light off. And it worked. So my brain was just programmed to have a light there.
Wow.
So yeah.
Okay. So this is not just a physical benefit we all hear the benefits of Epsom salt. Okay. Mm-hmm. It relaxes your muscles. It helps, with your skin, all those sorts of things. But this is a whole new level of meditation and breath work. And we've talked a lot about that on our podcast. We've talked about the benefits of meditation, the benefits of breath work. So you're taking those two components and bringing it into a sensory deprivation tank, along with the essentially no gravity, because you're floating. And how is it that you're floating, by the way?
1,600 pounds of Epsom salt. So it causes, it's like the Dead Sea. It causes you to be buoyant.
And okay, Trey and I have actually floated the Dead Sea, and it was incredible. So this is like mimicking the Dead Sea.
And it's actually more salt, I believe, don't quote me, but I'm pretty sure it's more salt than the Dead Sea.
Okay. So I think that's like 31%.
Yeah.
It's 31%. So you're very buoyant.
Super buoyant.
And I think the Salt Lake City,
you can't push your hands down into it; they come back up.
Right. Yeah. It was very interesting. The difference is that that was a lot more muddy, and this was very clean.
There you go.
and not scorching hot in where were we? Israel. Yes. So okay. So when you're floating and you're having these meditation times and breathing, what are you doing for your sympathetic system, your nervous system, all these body systems that seem to be going haywire nowadays?
Right. That's the beauty in it. So by removing when you remove sight, when you remove the light, you're removing 80% of input into your brain at that time. So your body is able to relax and go inward. So if you're going to remove any of the sensories, remove the light first. So that way you can still have your music. And then you can gradually move to no music if you can't just turn it all off at once. But yes, by removing all of that, you're learning how to find inner calm. And that inner calm, a lot of us don't even know what that feels like. And once you do, you're going to want it more and more and more. And then that inner calm teaches you to have that inner calm when you're dealing with other stresses in your life. When you go home, your teenager is ticking you off, you're not reacting, because you learned how to have that inner calm through the float, through the breath work, through the meditation during your session.
Okay, this is so fascinating.
Into everyday life.
This is fascinating because, like I said, we've talked a lot about meditation. We've talked a lot about relaxation and stress relief, but it's very challenging for a lot of people to do if you have kids at home, if you've got maybe a husband that's not supportive, or a wife that's not supportive, or a parent or whatever, or maybe you just don't have a place that you can really, really relax and get into it. You provide a space for someone to come in where nobody's walking in because you're butt naked.
Right.
So nobody's coming in, and you're providing that space, but doing it in a place that it's actually beneficial physically as well as the mental and the emotional, and sounds spiritual too, because you have a chance. Sometimes when I'm praying, I can't hear what God's saying to me. And it's not, people have asked, I used to ask this question, how do you hear from God? And I didn't really always have the answer. And I wanted to know myself until I finally did hear. And it wasn't like an audible sound for me, although some people it is, but it was an internal knowingness that was a thought that was interjected that wasn't mine. And I knew it wasn't mine. and I felt it deep within me.
I have to agree with that.
And it wasn't until I finally was able to get silent, but it was a practice. And it took me a while to get to that point. And you know what? Right now, I'm not in that space. I haven't been meditating like I should. And I'm kind of out of that practice. So you're providing a really great, safe place for people to have this healing. And I love that. So it's not, okay, I was thinking that the spa I knew it was a benefit. Like, okay, of course you're going to say do it once a week or more if you could. But now I see the benefit of doing it continually because it is a practice. How often do people come in and float?
So our paying clients, you have different levels of people, and the paying clients are easiest clients to take care of because the salts just help with the inflammation and the pain right off the bat. You'll walk out, if you have a shoulder issue, you'll walk out right afterwards, normally moving your shoulder. There's still a problem underlying sometimes, but it does remove that inflammation. So those clients with like rheumatoid, lupus, fibromyalgia, they'll float once a week, because they're feeling that benefit of the pain relief. It's gradual to grow them into more of the finding the inner calm. People that have those conditions usually have lived with high stress, high anxiety for so long, they don't know any different. So that's a challenging group. But if people that already meditate come in, some people come once a month just as like a regrouping for their body. Like my entrepreneurs, a lot of them will come once a month. And then my paying clients come once a week. My heavy meditators once a week. So it just kind of depends on what you're receiving out of the floats. I always say when you get in the float tank knows what you need. Sometimes it's a good stretch. Sometimes you're not there to just lay, because your ideal goal in floating and what it all started out as was to disappear, to feel like it's not like a bath. You're supposed to feel like you're floating in space. You lose the feeling of your limbs, you lose the feeling of your legs, and you just kind of, the water, your body, the air is all one temperature. But sometimes, like if my body will want to move and it's like pop, 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 it's lining up. It's, releasing that extra tension, the extra fluids, things like that. So it really depends on the person. I would love for everyone to float once a week, but honestly, life doesn't always permit that. It doesn't permit that for me all the time. So I cannot go without 2 times a month. I am a different person if I don't at least float 2 times a month.
Okay. What is the most profound, and maybe you don't know the answer to this, but what is the most profound thing or information that you received while you were floating? Or even emotional release. Maybe you had an emotional release, that may be too personal, but was there ever something that you just brought out that was either mental or emotional that really had some life-changing effects?
Starting floating was life-changing for me. I mean, I was a monster mommy. I quit my jobs to take care of my kids, and don't think I was meant to be home all the time with kids. I love them, but it was a lot on me, the talking. I had no way to think for myself, and I was just losing who I was. So when I started floating, it kind of brought back who my personality was. I had my own conversations. I remembered things from my past. Floating is strength. It brings up things from your subconscious. So you will feel like sometimes you're in grandma's yard with grandma.
Why is that? How is it the salt?
I think it's not. It's the sensory deprivation. It's the clearing the mind. It's allowing those thoughts to be able to creep in. It's like defragmenting your mind. Just like meditation is that way as well. It's just like defragmenting your brain. So it helps bring things up from the subconscious that you hadn't thought about in a while. So for me, I love it when my brain does go memory lane on me and I start thinking about other things. Another, I guess, huge thing was my sense of smell increased when I first started floating. Sense of smell, hearing, all got better, like almost like bionically better. It was bizarre. I've had some interesting floats. Harvey was probably I went in super stressed, not relaxed, no massage beforehand, none of that, like prepping up to relax, just jumped in the tank. My mind was going a million miles an hour. And I literally felt, I dozed off there was a big golden nail because we were sweeping up all these nails during Harvey, and I was scared about my kids, like stepping on a nail, tetanus, all that kind of stuff, right? Nasty waters. So I guess my subconscious got to kick that out, but I actually felt the nail hit my foot, and it was like a big cartoon golden nail. So that was like visionary, and that was probably the first freaky float. You know, it's like, whoa, what was that? You know? Yeah. So those kind of things have happened. I've had clients so that we do get a lot of tears on the couch, but they're emotional release tears. I've been blessed. I haven't had a super traumatic life, but I think I'm got a calm spirit for people that have. Mm-hmm. And when they go through their floats, they come out and they have someone they can release on, talk to, or not, or just sit there and let it all out. But floating can be a huge release, because a lot of us also stay super busy and doing something all the time because we don't want to face what our feelings. So when you sit with yourself and you're laying there and you don't have anything to do but sit with yourself, sometimes those emotions come up.
You know, it's almost like we have to do the opposite of what we normally do in order to find somewhat of a balance, which I think the whole like, oh, I got to find balance in my life. Is that ever really going to happen?
We're all going to be searching for that.
Yeah. I mean, you're going to be searching forever. Nothing is ever going to be evenly balanced. We're over here for a little bit more than we're over there. This week we're working on the yard, but next week it's the garage. Like, you know, you can't give equal attention to everything all the time.
Right.
It's just not going to happen. But I really forgot where I was going with that.
That's all right.
What did I say? I was talking about, okay, you have to cut this part out. I was talking about balance, but no, I was before that. Oh, yeah. Okay. There we go. So I had Laura Hernandez on here, and Laura Hernandez talked a lot about meditation, and she's a Deepak Chopra life coach. And she showed me, we did an assessment on me, and she showed me that my body is more my brain is really, really fast, but my body is more of a slow mover. And that made so much sense to me, because when I exercise, I am not the sprinter, or I don't gravitate towards the real quick cycling classes, things like that. I'm more lifting weights, yoga, and then more of the Tabata type workouts, because it's real quick and I'm done. So she told me, whenever my body goes too long without some of those harder workouts where I'm like moving up real quick and in the intensity level, if I don't do that for a while, it's hard for me to rev back up again. So I have to basically, let's say I go out of town for a while and then I get back into town and I need to start working out. I might have to take a few days to just like really go for it and just go for a jog just to get myself revved back up. Mm-hmm. Well, if you think about people who are constantly going, they're very fast movers. They have to almost purposely force themselves to slow down. So maybe they would be the type of person that says, okay, for 1 month, I'm going to float twice a week for a month, to force myself into that slow down, and then I'll go into a maintenance level. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And so someone like me, I'm fast moving in my brain. So the float is good for me, and I might have to really like jump into it once a week, twice a week, in the same way.
So you have to change brainwaves.
It's changing brainwaves. Thank you for completely consolidating that thought.
Yeah, you're talking about brainwaves. That's huge. In the float, you do so if people are in high beta all the time, the floats help them find alpha, and then the goal is to stay in theta, which is right before you go to sleep. That's where that's really the happy spot during a float. That's where the therapy is happening. But then deltas, sometimes people just want a big nap. But yeah, so that's right now. You probably have a lot of beta brainwaves, and then you just need to kind of find the alpha. And that's probably why you choose the slower workouts, because yoga, lifting weights, those kind of things kind of slow our brains down as well. So you might be liking that balance.
Yeah.
I'm not a fast mover either, but I do have a fast brain sometimes.
That's why Laura showed me, and Laura talked a lot about the brainwaves too. Laura showed me, okay, when it's time for you to work out, when you're going through your day to day, you're piling so much on yourself to do, and your body physically cannot follow because your body is not set up the same way that your brain is. But some people are very even. Their body moves slow and their brain moves slow, and they're perfectly fine saying, today's Saturday and I've had a busy week and I'm going to lay here on the couch all day. I'm like, you do that well?
I've been brain training.
Oh, brain. Okay.
So I've been brain training to find my alpha. I love alpha. It's like your wind chime. Think of wind chimes, stuff like that. That's your alpha state. And that's my favorite spot to be in. And when I'm in high beta, I'm kind of like walking around in a circle, don't really know what I have a lot of to-dos. And I want to hit them all, but I'm kind of like in a circle going, which one do I do first? And my head's too full. So I have to meditate. I have to float. I have to do all these things on a daily basis to stay in that spot where my body and my brain are equal.
And this makes you so much more intentional in everything that you're doing.
Yes.
That is my word for the year, is intentional. To be intentional in all the things that I'm doing. So I'm not running around like a chicken with my head cut off. Yes. So I feel focused and giving myself permission in doing this task to the fullest and then being done with it before I move on to the next. And I love that floating gives yourself the opportunity to think through those things and just to slow down.
Yeah. I actually had staff kind of teach me that as well. Cause I have like some of my team members will run around like crazy and knock everything out. And then I watched another girl who they won't necessarily think not doing anything. And I'm like, she gets everything done. She's just more methodical about it. So that old saying, work smarter, not harder, is really, this is kind of flowing into what we're talking about. So if your brain's slower, thinking more things methodically and as in a proper step, you're not running from a target over here to something way over here. Let's go over here where everything's together. Slower, calmer, things make more sense. Things pull together easier. The universe has a chance to do its work.
Yes. And I honestly feel like if a lot of people were to use less caffeine, they would have a chance for their brain to slow down. We did an episode on caffeine. It was a while back. I can't remember which episode it was. But I was a mess whenever I used to drink Advocare Spark. And yes, exactly. And it was a synthetic caffeine that was causing my brain to just go overload, and the world was not moving as fast as me. And I was really getting stressed and ornery and tired because you're going, and then you crash and then go, and then you crash.
So I went through that too. I don't drink any caffeine anymore. It was the best thing I ever did was quit caffeine.
Really?
I think fast brains are not supposed to have caffeine. We always think, I need this to have more energy. But all I needed all my life was just to slow my brain down a little bit. Throughout my entire life, I was like a beat ahead of music. So like I tried to teach I was teaching group fitness classes, and that's where I learned that I'm always ahead of the music. Why is that? And then it wasn't until I quit all the energy drinks and all the drinks that are supposed to be making me better at what I do. When I cut that out, all of a sudden I had more energy. My brain could remember the programs, and I was on beat. So yeah.
Okay, what a concept. So cutting out the caffeine because your brain is a fast-moving brain, and that slows it down to where it needs to go because you're thinking, my brain is so fast, but you're like, I need caffeine to focus. But you didn't. You just need to practice.
You needed your body faster, your brain slower.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. Okay, so anybody can float, right?
Anybody can.
Any weight?
I recommend 12 years and up for floating.
Okay.
And I like to start my 12-year-olds at 45 minutes. That's really their max. Once they get to about 16 is when they can usually, this is the norm. There is exceptions. 16-year-olds, you can usually do the 60, but under that, we stick at 45 minutes. Anyone can float. It just depends on the tanks. Our float rooms are large. So yes, we've had a member from the what is the
Biggest Loser?
The Biggest Loser came in, and his butt at first did hit the bottom. And so it was like a challenge for him. I think he was a lot of weight, like 600 pounds, I believe. So when he first came in, his butt hit the bottom. So he kept losing a little bit more. And by the third time he came in, he could float. And I think he was around 450 at that time.
Wow.
And he's just continually losing. So yeah, I'd say 600 pounds, your butt might hit the bottom. But after about 450 and over, you're good.
Okay. Did somebody have to help him in?
No, he's a big guy. He was able to get in on his own and everything. Now, he couldn't do massage chairs, and, you just had to couldn't do our robes. I mean, he's a large person.
Yeah.
He's a large person altogether. So no, the thing about the floats is really, it's your own journey. That's another thing. You don't have someone therapying you. You don't have someone asking you a bunch of questions. This is your own journey. You're trying to help yourself, and you have this space that you can continue your own therapy and working on yourself. And that's what he did, because it's also a mental game to lose weight.
Yeah. Oh yeah. We were talking, this is perfect. I mean, I love how the guests that come on here, it's such a perfect segue into everything that we've been doing or what we have for the future podcast. And the guys that we had last week, Andrew and John, they were talking about the mental and emotional struggles that go along with losing the significant amount of weight. And it is mostly emotional. The weight comes on emotionally most often. There's some sort of emotional component. Mm-hmm. And I mean, we could do a whole episode. We actually did. We had Stacey Ellie on, and she talked about the emotions and the emotion code, and how everything, diseases and all elements of the body are from some sort of emotional issue. And I love that. I feel bad because I haven't been to your spa more. I haven't been to it more. So when someone comes to float, so they'll call and they can make an appointment, or they can go online, right? Blissful Waters.
We try to make it as uncomplicated as possible.
Okay.
You can go online and book, or you can pick up the phone and call. We're open 7 days a week, and there's a 24-hour cancellation fee. Other than that, policy. Okay. Other than that, yeah, you just book online, blissfulwatersfloat.com, or give us a call at 281-978-4037.
Okay, awesome. And then just so everybody knows, when they get there, I loved your process, by the way. I got to change into my robe, and then I went into the massage chair, which was awesome. I think Trey would love one of those for Father's Day. And but I'm not getting them because I don't want that big old thing in my room. Yeah. So he can come to Blissful Waters. Massage chair. Then you go into the float room, and I showered off, and then got into the float, and then get out, and then you're going to want to shower off again, right? And wash your hair, because you're going to look like Albert Einstein if you don't, and let your hair dry with salt.
We have the Dyson hair dryer, so we got all the supplies for you.
Yes, I loved it. You had the Dyson. You could blow dry your hair. Mm-hmm. When I came out, I was so relaxed. I had to sit down for a little while.
That's another thing to actually chat about. When you're post float, the first one especially, the first time I floated, I could not drive my car. My brain went into the past and thought I had a standard, and I was like looking at my gear stick, like, why is this not working? Like, is this supposed to be? So I had to sit in my car for 30 minutes and just kind of let everything come back, because I don't think I'd ever been in complete silence in my life like that. So my brain really was like, what are we doing here? And so we have a post-float lounge. We urge everyone to come to the lounge, rehydrate, because all those Epsom salts are definitely dehydrating. They're detoxing you at a cellular level, at a skin level. And so you need to replenish with the right fluids and things like that, and get your brain back in check.
And the water that you had was really, really good. It was Blue Jug water.
It is.
And you have the whole water filtration system there, right?
Yes.
It was so good. It was so refreshing. Maybe I was really thirsty. I don't know, but it was really, really good. But I know it's alkaline water, and it has a negative ORP. Does it have
It's like 9.4 pH. That's it. So we partner with Blue Jug. She helps supply our water for our clients so that they're getting fully rehydrated afterwards.
It was so good. It was so good. I love that this is, this is a practice. It really is. And we have to look at this as the same as we would our exercise program. And my goal has been to help people who are listening to our podcast to exercise more, to embrace their health, to eat better, have better nutrition, but to also care for your mental and emotional health. Mm-hmm. And a place like Blissful Waters sets it up for you so beautifully, so that if you're in a place where at your house where you can't do it, you have an option to come into your spa and have, you're setting it on, like what you do at home. This is like on a level 10 compared to the benefits of doing it at home, like a level 2 or 3.
Yeah, it enhances your life.
Enhances it so much. Mm-hmm. And how far after you float do you want to eat?
Ooh, floating makes you hungry.
Okay.
Floating definitely, like you don't want to eat a lot before you float. You just want kind of a light
meal.
No
hamburger, French fries.
No hamburger, French fries. But you can eat that hamburger, French fries afterwards because your digestive system has just kicked in. That was another reason I got started. I had stress belly. I just found out I had a miscarriage, and then I found out that I had all these food allergies, and so I was giving myself IBS at that point just by reading labels. That's like a whole other story. But the floating helped with my stress belly, helped me just kind of get that inner calm and be healthy.
Do you have any of that issue anymore?
I still am highly allergic to wheat, but I've learned now how to avoid it.
Yeah. I love it. So, thank you so much for coming on. I hope you had fun. And I hope everybody will go visit blissfulwatersfloat.com. Yes. Okay. Thank you so much for coming on. Bye.
Thanks for listening to another episode of According to the Castles with Amy and Trey. Be sure to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts so you never miss an episode. To stay up to date with the Castles, follow Amy on Instagram @acastles. Until next time, have faith, enjoy life, and love abundantly.